Welcome back. We are going to start our class today by presenting to you one of the most famous poems in the English literature, and it will be a kind of an application for the new criticism. As you know, the methodology is supposed to be the close reading. And what we are going to do first, we are going to to make this close reading. We are going to explain, what is the poem about through reading the text and the text only, nothing but the text. And we are writing the name of the writer here, just for authenticity, but not for any other purpose, Not referring to his time, not referring to his writing, Nothing at all, But we are going to discuss, the poem, the text of the poem itself, And we are going to start with the title, What can you see in the title? What is the title there? Yes.
My lost touches. First of all, use mine, like referring to the.
Give me what is it all about first. Then we go ahead why discussing the etymology.
My lost touches. The title says that the poem might be about his duchess.
It means that the speaker is a duke.
Yeah.
The speaker is a duke, and he is going to talk about his wife, his duchess. Fine. But this wife is alive or dead? Dead. How did you understand that? From the word last. Okay. Okay. Is that the only thing that you understand from the word last?
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Noor.
Okay. Last,
Go ahead. Start with my.
What?
You started with my.
Yeah. Okay, he said that, like my lost touches, it makes you feel that this wife is his, like some kind of possessive.
A kind of a property.
Yeah.
She is only, something he owns.
Like his wife.
So this is, we understand from the word my, that the speaker starts with himself. He is an egoistic person, Well, the title is supposed to tell us about the wife, but we find that the words, they tell us otherwise. What do I mean? They tell us more about him more than telling us about the wife, Yes. Good. From the title only or from one word, which is last, Which means that there was one before the last and one after the last, Okay. Even without knowing what is it all about, we can say that the one who is putting himself at the beginning of everything by starting my here, it shows that the speaker is what? Is a possessive, egoistic person, And he considers everything is his own mind. There is a kind of what we call it, a kind of centricity in the usage of my, in what sense? That everything is turning around himself, He is the center of everything, and everything he's around him is being owned. Yeah. 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 He could have said, why did he choose duchess, not wife? I mean, this is a word choice. We are asking something about why did he use the word duchess, not using the word wife, Okay? Yes, please.
She got married to him, to the Duke. She became a duchess.
Okay, which means in other words that he cares about himself. his own rank, his social rank, that she is a duchess because I am a duke, right? This is the most important thing to him. Yes.
Using the word wife might express equality between.
Yeah, and intimacy. Not only equality, but also intimacy. Do you understand what I mean? That they are having, right, a kind of, right, a social, loving, right, relationship. But here, right, when he uses duchess as if he is putting her, that she is far away from him, right? As if he is dealing with her as what? As someone who is, right, yeah, not only a lower class, far away from him, right?
That he made her a duchess.
Yeah, yes,
Can I ask a question? Where
yeah.
are you taking this according to new Criticism? Aren't we here talking about the intentions and making assumptions about the writing?
No, I'm talking about the speaker, not the Robert Browning. We are talking about the speaker. My here, it refers to whom? To the speaker. We are not talking about the writer. We don't care about Robert Browning or his biography or his own history. We are discussing the text and the text only. What are the characteristics of the speaker? What do we understand from, right, this sentence? I understand that this man, right, he wants to tell us about his wife, but actually he is more concerned about himself than his own wife, right? He is a person who is a possessive person, right, from his usage of the word my. And he is also, right, okay, a woman pig. زير نساء بنسميه. Why? From the word last, which means that he had someone before last and one after last, right? And duchess, right, he assumes that he is from a higher rank, okay, but at the same time he is very arrogant. He is very arrogant person, right, who makes, right, others, right, of higher rank because of his own what? Okay, something else that I understand from the title, in addition to tell us that he is possessive and he is a woman pig, he is right, arrogant, right? I can understand that this person is egocentric, and that he considers himself as, right, the center of everything, and he considers all the people, right, are only a kind of property to him, a kind of a property to him. We are not talking about whom? Robert Browning, right? So we discussed the connotations and the denotations of the words, and we talked also about the word choice. Why did he choose duchess, not choosing wife, right? Well, we need to know what is it all about. I mean that we also discovered something important. What is that, right? Which is what we call it. Who can remember that we have to discover the paradox? What did we call the paradox? Right, the central conflict. What is the central conflict here? What is the paradox? Yes. That the text, right, tells us much more about him than telling us about his wife. Well, this is the picture of the wife, the duchess, right? So we are not going to talk about a real living person, but we are going to talk about, right, a picture, right? A picture of a dead person, right? What is it all about, right? Okay. The Duke is telling us about his own dead wife, the Duchess, right? And to whom? To whom he is talking? To a guest, right? Who is that guest? Yes. No, of course not.
A new lady.
Right, the one who came to negotiate the dowry for the new lady. Right? Tell you what, right? In the European world, right, the one who pays the dowry is the wife, not the husband. Right? Even if you check the word dowry in an English dictionary, you will find that the meaning of the word dowry, it is the amount of money which is paid by the whom? By the bride to the bridegroom. Right? By the woman to the man. So it is inapplicable in our culture to call it a dowry because, all right, it doesn't happen. We have to call it the bride's dowry. I mean that which is paid by the bridegroom to whom? To the bride. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. Well, so this man, right, lives at the expense of women. We will discover that, okay, he gets married and he lives what? Right? From the dowry. So, right, of course, he is going to get married to someone whose father is wealthy. Yeah. His father is, in order to make sure that he is going to get a lot of money. So the father, right, of the new wife is coming to, right, the palace of the duke in order to negotiate about what? The amount of the dowry required by whom? By the duke himself. And this doesn't happen directly between the bride's father, but through a middleman. We call him the envoy. We call him, right? And he is talking here to the envoy, right? Look at this. The man is coming for a serious matter, but he is taking him into a tour inside his house in order to tell him, right, what are the things that he owns inside this house, till they come to a picture. The picture which is actually hidden behind curtains. Right? It is picture of his own, right, the dead duchess, the last duchess. Right? ميتة ومخبيها بإيش? Right. He opens the curtains, right? Do you know why? Because she used to smile at everyone and he couldn't control her smiles. So he killed her. And he painted her on the wall and he controlled her smiles by what? By the curtains. So he shows her smile to anyone, right, when he really wants that. Not only jealousy, he's sick. He's a psycho. He's a murderer. Yeah. Right? So the starting point is her portrait on the wall. The portrait of the wife. The poem is about a duke who was made angry by some of the things in his wife did. What is that? Being hospitable. Right? She smiled at everyone, not only to him. He wanted her to smile to him only. Right? But he couldn't control her smile. So what happened? He killed her. Yes. He says, I gave commands, then all smiles stopped. يعني ايش I gave commands? قلت لهم فسحوها. Right? I gave commands. أعطيتهم أوامري وبعد ايش صار? All smiles stopped. What do you understand? Gave commands of what? Of killing her. Right? Her portrait hangs on the wall. Right? And therefore, if a poem, right, takes the shape of a dialogue between two characters, we call it a dialogue. But here we have only one speaker. Who is the speaker? The duke. And the listener. One listener. Who is the listener? The envoy. Or the middleman. Right? This envoy is only a listener. But he is not even given a chance to speak. كأنه كل ما بده يجي يحكي بقول له اسكت. So this type of portrait, right, in which we have a speaker and a listener, we have two people, right? We call it a dramatic monologue. We call it dramatic monologue. right, in which we have one speaker. This speaker talks to another person, but this is the second person is voiceless. What does I mean of voiceless? That he doesn't speak. He is not having, he is only listening. Right? So we say this means the poem is written in the voice of a character rather than the voice of the poet. So we are not talking about whom? About the poet. We are talking about the persona. We are talking about the persona, the speaker. Right? The character who is speaking is the Duke. Right? The Duke of Ferrara. His name is the Duke of Ferrara. And he is speaking to his own visitor, the Count's envoy. Right? So the Count is the father of the new wife. And what is the purpose of the envoy's visit and the Count's visit? It is to negotiate the amount of the dowry. So the Count's envoy has been sent to discuss the dowry, right? And you will find that inside the poem, right, at the end of the poem, after he makes a lot of blah, 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 blah about his wife and his, his property, he tells the husband, you make sure, I'm reminding you, and I'm saying you to say again, that, right, that the generosity of your master اللي هو الكاونت, all right, should guarantee that he is supposed to pay for me a lot of money as a dowry. Which means that, what do we understand? What type of a character is this man? Right? Do you understand what I mean? That, yeah, not only greedy, but, right, he is actually bragging about being a duke from the upper class, but we find that he lives at the expense of women. Do you understand what I mean? Right? Which is actually another type of a paradox, which goes against the characteristics of the speaker. Right? As the Duke is looking for a new wife, right, which is the next Duchess, right? Fine. So we have last, and we have next, and we have the before the last, right? While they are talking to a conversation, right, they turn to the portrait of the Duke's dead wife, right? Right? Maybe even this envoy is not actually interested in the whole thing, but he is listening to the speaker because what? Because he doesn't have another alternative. كأنه غصب عنه قاعد وبقول له شايف, right? In other words, that we find that the speaker doesn't show any interest, right? And sometimes shows signs of being bored. Why? Because he's not interested in what the Duke is telling him. He's coming for another purpose. And therefore, right, it is exactly, right, as we, right, مش عارف, تعرفوا الليمبي؟ لما كان ابو عم بخ ميت وعاملين له عزا وما كانش فيه ولا واحد من ايش؟ من اللي معزينه، اجى واحد بالغلط، اجى ايه؟ بعدين فتح عليه الموس لما اكتشف انه غلط، فقال له هو لا بدك غصب عنك شو قعد؟ وهذا زي هيك. يعني ما صدق انه لو له صيده يسمع له لقصته, right? Okay, so we start by saying that's my last Duchess. Look at this. That's the usage of the word that is not like the usage of the word this. What is the indication? Right, that distance, as if the wife is very distant, far away. That's my last Duchess, painted on the wall. What does that mean, painted on the wall? أيها ملزق على الحيطة. Right? As if she is a property, right? Painted on the wall. As if she is nothing. As if she is nothing. Right? I have not started yet. I'm giving you, right, a kind of a general atmosphere of what of the poem, but we will come to discuss further every single word and its own connotations. Looking as if she were alive, right? He is bragging here, bragging as if that the painting is something extraordinary. There is no difference between the painting and the real character, as if it is alive, which is try to show that he is showing off. What's he showing off? Yeah, bragging that the painting is an excellent painting and the painter is an excellent painter, right? Okay, well, this is the picture, right? The picture is also kept hidden behind what? Behind the curtains, where the Duke can enjoy the picture by himself or to whom he wants to open the curtain for, right? And when he focuses on suggested that the painting or the portrait is excellent job, as I told you, when he say as if she were alive, as if that the paint, then we will discover that the painting, which is actually excellent, right, as he says, and he tells us that the one who painted this is called Fra Panlof. Fra Panlof. Fra Panlof is a famous painter in Italy at that time. At that time. And he repeats the word Fra Panlof more than 3 or 4 times to insist that the painter is what? Is Fra Panlof. But we don't know whether the painter was really Fra Panlof or not, right? But he is using the repetition of the name of in order to show off, right? As we usually يعني لما واحد بده يجي يقول لك طلعت في المرسيدس تبعت وبعدين مشينا في المرسيدس مرتين ورجعنا. Do you understand what I mean? In order to what? Yeah, in order to show off. But we don't know إذا كان عمره ركب مرسيدس أصلا يعني. Do you understand what I mean? إلا إذا كان. Well, is the painter of the portrait, but he is using it as to refer to us that he is using excellent painter to paint for his own wife. And then we will understand that even what he says is actually not confirmed. Why? Fra Panlof's hands worked busily a day. It means that he finished the whole painting in one. Right? How excellent this painting is, right? If he finished it in one day, do you understand what I mean? That usually excellent paintings, they usually take what? Months and more than months in order to finish it. Maybe years. But this is to show us that this man doesn't know anything about what is excellent painting. Right? Of course, this is another paradox. We will discover many paradoxes. Right? So it tells us the whole thing, right, about the relationship between the husband and the wife, right? When the Duke draws back the curtain to the envoy, right, he sees that the Duchess expressing the depth and passion of its earnest glance, as if he wants to tell that the speaker, look at the depth in her look, right? That all the emotions, they appear in her own eyes, right? Her look, the glance, the look on her face, it shows how great the painter is. Then, we discover that he doesn't know anything in art and in art evaluation at the end of the poem. At the end of the poem. Well, the overall conclusion that I want to reach, that this poem tells us much, much more, about, the Duke more than the Duchess. And how do we know this? By studying the text and the text only. Right? And therefore, this is what we are going to do. right? We are going to discuss only the text, right? Well, that's my last touches painted on the wall. Right. The usage of the word that indicates the distance between him and, right, the one he is pointing at. The one who is pointing at, right? He repeats himself by using the word my to indicate that he is possessive. Last, which indicates that he is a woman pig. In other words, that he is having a relationship with more than one woman. Duchess, right, to brag that he is the one who gave her the title, that she became a duchess because he is a duke, and without him she would have never been a duchess. Right, the expression painted on the wall, right, it indicates that she is nothing, right? Something like any other property, like the curtain, like a nail, like nam?
Furniture.
Yeah, like any piece of furniture, right? Okay, which indicates that he is not having a kind of an emotional attachment to his own wife. Not actually a good relationship, which, controlled the way they lived. Looking as if she were alive, right? That the picture looks as if, right, she were alive. She here, it refers to his, right, his duchess, his wife. That because that the painting, we understand the connotation. What is the connotation of the slide? That it indicates that the painting is very good to the extent that there is no difference between what, right, the real, or right, the live person, right, and the painting. Then the painting. Another connotation that we understand, that he is a good, right, well-educated, a critic of art, and he knows what is good and what is not good. What is not good. I, again, started with my, and now he calls it, I call that piece a wonder, right? So he is telling us that he is an expert in what? In judging what is wonder. Do you know what's the meaning of a wonder? Wonder. نعم. Right? من العجائب الدنيا السبعة. I call it a wonder, right? Which means that something which is unequaled, right? This is according to his point of view, right? But we will later discover that it is not a wonder. How a wonder can be done in one day, in one day, which indicates us that he is ignorant in his own judgment about art, right? Which is showing us another paradox between what is assumed to be as an expert in art and what actually he is, right? I call that piece piece referring to whom? Right, as if it is a masterpiece of art, a wonder. Now, Fra Pandulf's hands worked busily a day, right? On which that has been, all right, it has been painted by, all right, the hands of the great painter Fra Pandulf. But we also understand from the connotations that, all right, no wonder, right? No, not wonder. No, there is no right piece of art that is considered as a wonder can be produced in one day. In one, work busily a day and work busily. Do you understand what I mean? Right? How can a wonder be worked busily? right? بيشلفق له right? But it is not going to be, right, a wonder, right? And there she stands, وهي واقفة. The way, right, that there is a kind of what? Of underestimation of the character that he is referring to, right? And there she stands. We don't know. She here, it refers to whom? Does it refer to the picture, or does it refer to, right, to the Duchess? We know that the Duchess is only a portrait, and a portrait is what? It means only the face, all right? Okay? And how does he say stands, which means that it refers much more to whom? It refers to the painting rather than to, right? And there is also another indication for the distance. There is like, right, someone who is far, someone, right, far, not a close person, not a close person, right? It seems that the one who is listening is not interested, right? And he wants to, what's يلا بدي يمشي يلا. فزي ما قلت لكم الليمبي قال له اقول له will you please sit down and look at her. قول له لو سمحت اقعد وتطلع عليها. Do you understand what I mean? Well, right? It seems that the one who is listening is not actually interested and he would like to move. بقول له بدكش تقعد تتفرج عليها. يعني كأنه ايه؟ بالغصب. Yeah, as if that the speaker is not actually interested, but he is having the character. The speaker is having what we call it authoritative, right? All right, personality, right? Likes to give commands, gives commands. وقول له will you please لو سمحت اقعد وتطلع عليها. طب بديش اطلع. Do you understand what I mean? مش عارف انه جاي بالغلط. Will please you sit and look at her. I said وبده يكمل, right? Right, هو ما صدق, he wanted to move, to go down, right? But he wants to repeat himself, so he wants to continue, right, speaking by saying that what I was saying واللي قلت لك يا Fra Panlov, right? Okay, I said Fra Panlov, قلت لك مين اللي رسمها مين؟ Fra Panlov. He is referring to the name of the, in order to indicate, all right, showing off. A character who cares about much more about showing off than anything else. All right, by design, on purpose. By design here means on purpose, right? What did he do? For never read the strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of its earnest glance. Look at this. How impolite he is. How do I understand impolite? Like, right? That Fra Panlov on purpose has given her some characteristics, a look in her face. Strangers like you don't understand because they are idiots. I am the only one who understands, and I have to tell you how does she look, right? Okay, strangers like you, right? Even calling your guest as a stranger is impolite, right? He says that if Fra Panlov on purpose, right? Okay, you have to say that this actually is not supposed to be read now. Fra Panlov by design, what has done, right? Okay, has put the depth and passion of its earnest glance, right? Which strangers like you cannot read. Strangers like you cannot read, right? That the designer, the painter, has pictured a countenance, a kind of a countenance look, right? Which is full of depth and fashion. And he is also pictured an earnest glance on her face, But strangers like you cannot read it, cannot understand what is, right, the passion and the depth and the earnest glance in this picture. Why? Because right? He designed it on purpose, not for the pictures to understand what kind of a look does she have, right? But they usually turn to me and ask me about it. They usually, the idiots, the strangers like you, right? What do we understand? That the way he speaks, he speaks like Trump, you know. Right? That he speaks in a way who doesn't show respect to the listeners, right? At all, and neither to their mentality, and telling them that this picture, it was designed on purpose by the panel, right, in order to picture and portray a kind of a serious look, earnest glance, which is full of depth and passion, but the strangers like you cannot understand it. And when they usually cannot understand it, they usually turn to me to ask me about that look in order to explain for them, because they are idiots, ignorant. So he accused his guest of being what? Ignorant, right? Not cultured in art in order to discover the earnest glance and the depth and the passion in the look of the face of the Duchess. And also he accused him of being a stranger, But to myself they turn, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you but I. They usually come to me because no one is dares to remove the curtain from the picture but myself. Look how egoistic he is, right? Because no one is able to open the curtain, right? But myself, I am the one who controls right, when to open the curtain and when not to open the curtain. Yes, even he controls her smiles after, right, her death. Right, a man of control. A man, he wants to control everything. Right? Since none puts by the curtain I have drawn. أنا اللي حطيتها أصلا. Right? I have drawn for you, but I. بدي إياكم تروحوا لما تروحوا على البيت تعدوا لي أكم I وأكم my فيها. Right? Okay? And seemed as they would ask me, right? If they durst, if they dare to ask, they would ask me. ولو كان عندهم الجرأة إنهم يسألوني حيسألوني. The way he speaks like Trump. Wallahi, he's a very good character, you know, in order like this here, like the Duke, right? And okay, that they would turn to ask, right? If they dare to ask, they would say humbly, right? يعني راح يسألوني وبكل تلطف وبكل خوف يقولوا لي, right? What kind of a look does she have? What kind of a look does she have? And seem they would ask me if they durst, how such a glance came there, right? What is the reason behind the look on her face, the earnest glance, the depth and the passion, right? Right? So not the first are you to turn and ask this. وإذا سألت مش راح تكون سأل الزلمة هو اللي سأل السؤال وهو اللي حيجاوب. انت طبعا حتسألني ايش السر هذا وانا حاقول لك مش راح تكون اول واحد انت سألت blah 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 blah, right? A great deal, right? He is, right? He likes to talk كأنه صيد واحد بده غصب عنه يسمعوا كل الحاجات. Do you understand what I mean? Right? Okay. So not the first are you to turn and ask this. You will not be the first one to ask me what is, right, the reason and the type of the glance on her. Sir, right now he is giving the answer. هو سأل السؤال وهو بده يجاوب, right? So, sir, right, it was not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy on her duchess cheek, that she was not smiling to me. I mean, that the smile on her face, it was not because of her husband. Well, she was not smiling at me. He is trying to indicate to us that his wife is not a good wife. She is trying to tell us that his wife is a flirtuous woman, right? So he says that the look, the spot of joy, right, the one who smiles all the time, the happy wife, she is happy, she is joyous, not because of the existence of her husband only, right?